want to jump in now and share one of the experiences here at Mural with folks who are tuning in via audio here. What people see here right now is a screen, and then there's it's a canvas. And as soon as somebody clicks it, they choose an infinite blank canvas instead of choosing a template. It's the experience I chose here. One of my hunches was that more people would be clicking to templates. And what I heard from you, Lauren, is that this is actually not the case. Like more people are actually starting off with a blank canvas. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we do have folks that are starting from a template, but I think especially in the very beginning, a lot of folks just want to come in and sort of play around and get to know what Mural is and how usable it is and does it meet their needs. So one of my hypotheses here is that unless you have a very distinct understanding of what you're trying to accomplish initially, you might be overwhelmed with template selection. And so you think, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead, dig in, get started with a blank canvas and take a look and maybe use templates later in your journey. But we definitely have a huge chunk of folks who do start from a template. And that experience is similar, but this one is the most well-developed right now.
That's really interesting. That makes sense. If they're overwhelmed with choice, they'll choose the first one on the left, which is infinite blank canvas. But there is like this really cool checklist here that goes through it. Getting started. Number one is building a space to collaborate, create a mural. Second, make it your own, give it a title. I'm guessing this is like something that you and your team experimented with to figure out, like you mentioned around Reforge, like working backwards as to what the retention is. This exactly what this work involved? Like here are the 6 steps to be successful with Mural, essentially.
Yeah, so we call this onboarding quests, and a lot of what we were trying to do was add some fun and gamification into the process. And I think the hard part is always about getting people to learn in a way that doesn't feel super clunky and is at least somewhat interesting, such that they'll complete it, because when they do complete it, they feel more prepared to go on and be successful. And so I really like this experience because the team did have more fun with it. We worked at adding, as you can see, celebrations and a bit more gamification. And psychologically, the checklist works. I mean, I think like LinkedIn nailed that from the very beginning, and it's a strategy a lot of folks employ. So from here, we really looked at what are the things that you need to get started, and how do you take something that has endless possibility and boil it down and make it pretty simple and start to have someone build their confidence in what they can do inside a mural. So those 6 things, if you look at it, it's a part of getting to that setup moment. So I'm creating the mural, I have a title associated with it, I've added sticky notes for content, and guess what? I've invited someone else to my mural who can start to collaborate with me. So it's really a way of kind of showing you, but making it fun.
One thing I really find interesting is that when somebody clicks on one of the items, it is not like a product tour. It's actually like a GIF or GIF, however anybody wants to pronounce this. So that it is interactive, but it is not like hand-holding the user. I'm guessing this is like based on experience that Mural users want to click around, and guiding them to do something like, for example, this one idea 2 is actually a much better experience for Mural users than it is just hand-holding them through the experience.
Yeah, I think the hard part about onboarding is a lot of folks don't want to give you that attention to go through, just to click through a bunch of steps and show me how to do it. I actually want to do it myself, and I'm learning better by doing it myself. And this is through a bunch of different experiments that came before this that helped us learn that. There could be a trepidation around getting started with content, and especially for those that are participants, like there's a fear that they're going to come in and do something wrong. I'm going to delete your content or move it in a way that totally messes up our entire session. And so the thinking was, how do we create a way that you can learn, but also do at the same time? And that's something I'm really interested in exploring more next year, is thinking about the different ways that people learn, because not everybody learns in the same way. And in fact, just a quick little story. I had a medical procedure last year, and I remember a doctor asking me, how do you like to learn? And I had to stop and think, and I was like, what? How do I like to learn? And ultimately, what they wanted to explain something to me about the upcoming procedure, and it was like, do you want me to tell you about it? Do you want me to show you? Or do you want to be hands-on with it? And that really stuck with me, because I think that applies to many things like onboarding. Not everybody wants to learn or is capable of learning in the same way. And so I'm thinking a lot about allowing different options for people to learn in the way that they like to learn.
That makes a ton of sense. Like some people are visual learners, some people are clicking learners where they want to click
Hmm.
around. Some people are video learners, and giving people that option is super interesting. In terms of that emoji, when somebody completes something, there's like this celebratory emoji that comes up from the bottom of the screen. It gives me a sense of delight. It's like, oh, that feels
Yeah.
good. Is that something that you've seen, like users who see this is like, oh, I just want to keep going. I want to see more of that emoji come from the bottom.
Yeah, when we did initial user testing, people loved it. I think that
Mm,
one, it's like real-time feedback that I did it
right.
right. And so
Yes.
it's without encouraging, it's encouraging you that, yeah, you did it right, and you have that affirmation about it. It also looks fun and cool. I think it helps
Right.
you sort of see the power of, oh, wow, I could actually do this during my collaborative sessions. It adds some humanity to it also,
It
right?
does.
Like, and so I think that's a lot of what we're trying to accomplish is kind of demystify, make it a little less intimidating, and also just celebrate the little wins along the way.
True, that makes sense. It also adds you said it humanizes the experience, but it also adds a lot of playfulness. I feel like, oh, this feels
Yeah.
like play. And that's what like it creates for me, where like when I'm thinking about brainstorming, there's I forgot what is the book called, like game storming, where like that's a book where around like brainstorming is around playing games, and this feels very playful. Is that what you've heard from other users, or like they've used words like delight, playful, humanizes the experience
Most
with
people probably don't say humanize, but they react like, "Oh, wow, cool." So definitely you see the delight, you see the
right.
playfulness. Interestingly, one of our company values is play to wow. And so we definitely
Interesting.
think about play in our product. And
Right.
it's also a part of creating the culture around collaboration. So I think
Mm,
what's really interesting, and you're starting to see more from Mural, is it's not just about the tool or the place or the space where you're collaborating. It's also about how. So what type of
mm,
mind frame are you in? Do you have trust and psychological safety? What methods are you using? So there's a lot more sort of to it than just the space, where one might think, oh, this is a digital whiteboard, cool. But really, to get to the best collaborative outcomes, it's really about multiple elements. So this is kind of, it seems like it's just some fun, playful confetti, but it is a part of kind of a bigger philosophy we have around this
I get it.
idea of like designing collaboration.
I really, really love that. I didn't even know. I didn't know that played a wow. That's a great. That's a great value. In terms of like the choosing a template now here, when I choose a template, it is definitely a different experience where there is still a little bit of checkbox on the some checklist on the right, but now it's walking into this. In this case, I chose a workshop, a toolkit template. It has the outline to the different things, like the title of the workshop, the agenda, the title. From what I've heard, this is something that is evolving, and it's an experience for new users essentially.
Yeah, so the interesting part about templates is that anybody can use a template, obviously a new user, an existing user. And so there's already a built-in onboarding for an existing user around a
Mm,
template, because
right,
what we're doing here is we're not just teaching you about the template, we're actually walking you through, you can see some of the how in terms of like
right.
methodologies. So to not to get super meta, but it's like onboarding within onboarding. And so a lot
Mm,
of what we've been trying to sort through is how do you actually onboard to a template while onboarding into a mural? And there's a lot to think through in terms of teaching the tool itself, but also teaching the template and the methodology. And so we've been running some experiments around what's the right sequencing. In fact, if you do onboard from a template, we're working on how you would basically integrate what's great about quests, but also not
mm.
lose some of the onboarding to the specific template content. So there's definitely a balancing act here, and that's something that we're working through the best way to handle that specifically for new users versus existing members.
That's pretty awesome. Thank you for sharing that.